Hi, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're playing Medal of Honor Pacific Assault on the PC. This was a PC exclusive. This takes place in the Pacific Theater, which at the time was a fairly new concept as far as AAA World War II titles go. I don't know every PC game that came out at this time, as I wasn't avid PC gamer, because when this game came out I couldn't have dreamed to have a PC that ran this game, let alone a lot of the games that were coming out at the time. So I played this game a few years after the game was out, but I did play Medal of Honor Rising Sun. This is a couple levels in, and this game starts off with action, but it was a small scene to prime you for this long drawn out boot camp scene that basically taught you the controls of this game. If you see on the top right of the screen, there's some squad mechanics. One's to assemble, one's for cover fire, one's to advance forward, and one's to retreat back. I imagine you can kind of get an idea of what does what. Now that it disappeared, I can't give you a play-by-play. But anyway, it starts off with the action scene, sort of like the D-Day level and Medal of Honor Frontline. The D-Day level and Allied Assault, which this is a sequel of, wasn't until like the middle of the game, and it was a lot harder than the PlayStation version, let me tell you. Also, the levels in that game are a lot larger. There was a lot expected of this game because Medal of Honor Allied Assault and its expansion packs were so awesome. I have a feeling I'm going to have to rebuy Medal of Honor Allied Assault if I ever want to play it again. It's about $9.99 on EA Origins account deal thing. I don't know what you would call it. It's a service like Steam, except EA owns it. Of course, everybody has to have their own little company. They can't just put it all on Steam because, you know, EA is too good for that. But anyway, I don't really care. It's just another icon on the computer, to be honest, but it is another thing that has your information. This was free every month. EA, or maybe every few months. I don't play games on the computer that much. This is one of the rare cases where I actually play a PC game, but there's not a console version of this. Otherwise, I probably would have played that. I have nothing against playing games on PC. It's just consoles are more comforting to me. And this was one of the few times I've actually played a PC game, just to play a game, and played it. I don't remember if I finished it, but I got quite far in it. Seeing me play now, you would think I would never played a PC game before in my entire life. That's not true. There was a time where I played exclusively PC games when I first started working at I call it a real job. Before then, I had summer jobs, bricklaying, cutting grass, washing dishes. But I started working at a grocery store, and then I basically built a computer, and I was able to play PC games. This was towards the end of the PlayStation 2 and Xbox life cycle as far as AAA titles. Every once in a while a AAA title on a PlayStation 2 would trickle in, but you know how Microsoft is. Once their new console comes out, they basically forget about the one that came out before it. They've been a little bit better with the Xbox 360, but they kind of abandoned the original Xbox when there was actually a time in between, to be honest with you, beside whatever the third party support was. There's a time in between the Xbox 360 and the Xbox where just not a lot of stuff was coming out for the original Xbox. But anyway, I got a PC around this time where like the console games looked nothing like the PC games, and this was one of them. It's nothing to write home about today as far as graphics go, but back then this was pretty mind-blowing stuff. This came out probably around the time that Doom came out too, even though this doesn't look as good as Doom 3. I meant to say Doom 3 when I said Doom. but this has a lot of physics-based things on it. Although I still think Half-Life 2, which did eventually come out on the original Xbox, I think it came out a little bit before this game. That game was really, really impressive, but didn't look as, I guess, glossy or whatever. This has a little bit of fancy shader effects in it. People are really bipolar about this game. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm on one of those fences where I actually like it. Now, I apologize that I skipped the boot camp tutorial scene. It just lasts too long. And then there's the Pearl Harbor thing that's on the PlayStation 2 Medal of Honor Rising Sun, which came out a little bit before this. This is when EA was exploring the Pacific Theater because there was World War II fatigue in gaming. So I personally never got tired of it. Playing this actually makes me really want a contemporary World War II game with contemporary technology, especially with the Frostbite 2 engine or Frostbite 3. I don't even know which one's out yet. We'll just call it the Frostbite engine. I think it's Frostbite 3. Yeah, that would be so cool with environmental destruction and stuff like that. If you see, I have a medic. In this game, there are med packs. You don't have recharging health, but they're quite rare in this game. And basically, you have 4 times where you can call the medic to help you out, and he'll come over. As long as he wasn't killed, he'll come over and patch you up, and you'll have 100% health. For somebody who's colorblind like me, and even though this has shader effects, like the average texture is somewhat like a flat texture without shading on it, so it's hard for someone who's colorblind, at least I think it is. I don't know what it looks like to play this game as somebody who sees normally. But, I mean, they are wearing green in the war for a reason, so they can blend in. But I can get around Call of Duty World at War pretty fine. That takes place in the Pacific Theater and whatever that History Channel Pacific Theater game is. I can play those games fine because there's rendering and self-shadowing on the characters and stuff like that, so they pop out more, where this game, it's just flat textures against other flat textures, so it's extremely hard for me to see. Now, I will admit the collision detection with the guns isn't the best, and the rifles are severely underpowered. You'll see me throughout this gameplay of basically shooting someone quite a few times with a high-powered rifle, and there's quite a few levels where I feel like you're stuck with somewhat shitty weapons, but once you get over it, it's really fun. There are squad tactics, kind of similar to, I guess, Brothers in Arms, but that was a little bit more advanced, which I really love. I would really like to play the original games of that. Those games are super hard, but, you know, really, really rewarding when you beat the levels. But I'm kind of disappointed that this and Allied Assault never came out on the consoles. Allied Assault was originally supposed to come out for the original Xbox console, but they canceled that in favor of just porting a slightly nicer looking version of Medal of Honor Frontline, which is a nice game on its own, but a very different kind of game from Allied Assault and Pacific Assault for that matter. And that's in Medal of Honor Frontline, Medal of Honor Underground, and Medal of Honor the original. There's there's this theme of being in the OSS, which is basically being like World War II 00 agent. Isn't that what they're called in 007? I'm not real hip to the 007 lore or whatever, but you play as like a Secret Service agent kind of thing, so you're usually on your own. You might have 1 or 2 companions. Medal of Honor Frontline, there's like a D-Day scene or whatever, but in Medal of Honor Allied Assault and in this game, you're typically always with soldiers. Now, Medal of Honor Rising Sun didn't get as good a reception, neither really did this game. I think the highest scores I saw back in the day were like 7s, and I think this game does have a lot of problems, but I don't think it's 7 material. I would at least give it an 8, but you know, me liking World War II games, I'd probably give it a 9.5. That's why I don't work for IGN. You know, it's glitchy, but ultimately I really have fun, and that's what's really important to me. So, yeah, there's squad mechanics. There's a lot of turret-based levels in this as well as there is in Medal of Honor Rising Sun. I don't know what it is with the Pacific Theater and turret-based levels. Tourist, I guess you are a tourist of World War II. Turret-based levels, but there seems to be a lot of them. And there's also a few airplane levels which are interesting, but not really all that great because you control it with a mouse. I think this game would have been awesome on a console, but at the time I don't know if even the original Xbox, which was basically twice as powerful as the PlayStation 2, could have handled it. I think it could have handled Medal of Honor Allied Assault. It might have been able to handle this if it was at the lowest settings. I have this game running at the highest settings because it's an old game. Not that my computer's a piece of shit or anything, but I mean, I can't run Forza 6 at the highest settings. I can run it fairly decent, but not at the highest settings. I don't have a $400 video card in my computer, nor do I plan on getting one. I have a PlayStation 4, and I'm perfectly happy with playing either 30 frames per second, as long as it stays at 30 frames per second and not have the highest graphical settings, as long as I can have fun. You know, I grew up playing a lot of PlayStation 2 and Xbox ports and even PS1 ports of PC games, you know, so I'm used to not playing the best. I'm used to making the best with what I have, so it doesn't really bother me. But I think this game would be a lot more fun for somebody with me who's not used to playing with a mouse and keyboard. I was pretty good back in the day. I could beat the Call of Duty games, and then they had that Call of Duty expansion pack, which I wish would come on consoles. I really do. It was really hard. I think it was called United Offensive or something. I don't know, but it was really awesome. And this came out, I think, a little bit after Call of Duty. And the team that actually made Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which is the game that came, the PC Medal of Honor game that came out before this, the PC gamers didn't get Medal of Honor Frontline. To be honest with you, I would have traded Medal of Honor Frontline for Allied Assault in a heartbeat, even though I really do like Medal of Honor Frontline. I mean, when I had that game pre-ordered, it was coming in the mail. I would like check the mailbox every day. I was so excited about that. But I had Medal of Honor Allied Assault. This is how pathetic I was. I bought Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and I couldn't even play it on the PC that we had. First of all, my father is really strict about not putting games on the family PC because he swore that it was going to mess up the PC, which probably in the long run it probably would have, because we would have flooded it with games, because, you know, we were impulsive teenagers that wanted fucking games on our computer. But although my sister was more into the social networking and trading shit back and forth and didn't know much about computers, so I'm sure she would have been the one that was more likely to screw it up. Sorry, Danielle, if you're watching, but I guarantee you my sister's never watched any one of my videos. I don't even know if she knows I make videos. But anyway, yeah, so I bought this game that I couldn't play, and I would bring it over to my friend's house, who was living with his brother-in-law at the time, who happened to work at a place that built computers for school. So he had like the latest and greatest technology and could play everything at the highest settings. So I would go over to his house with Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and we would play these PC games at like the highest possible settings and actually have LAN games, which is one of the coolest thing. I've never experienced it before or any other time. It was like having an online game, but it was fun because the way the house was split up, there was a balcony that you could lean over upstairs so you could hear the other person play. And it was just funny that even though we couldn't see each other's screens, we could hear each other like yell and stuff, like when we got shot and stuff on multiplayer on Medal of Honor Allied Assault. It was great because we were coming from a generation on PlayStation 1 where we would play split screen Medal of Honor for hours, and we were so fucking stupid. We took this greasy ass pizza box and cut the top off and measured the TV and taped the top of the lid of the box around the TV, and one person sat in a chair and the other person sat on the floor so we couldn't see each other's screen, because we knew if we ever used the sniper rifle, the screen would go into that scope mode. So even if you weren't looking at the other person's screen, you know that they were using a sniper rifle. 9 times out of 10, they're using the sniper rifle, they probably see you. So we knew to run out of the way. So with that pizza box partition, I would actually tend to win more and stuff like that, because he would always run out of the way, and I was more of a stealthy kind of player. I don't know what I would consider myself now. Like, people are so good at these online games, console, RPC, like, I can't stand, I don't stand a chance. Although, with these World War II games, which I really like, with the less futuristic weapons, I stand a better chance. Even though Battlefield's a harder game, I feel like I do better at Battlefield than Call of Duty. I always feel like Call of Duty's whoever runs into the person first, either whether they shoot them in the back or whoever pushes the trigger first. I feel like there's less strategy in Call of Duty. I know there is strategy, but for someone like me and other inexperienced players, that you would tend to get match at, because I believe that they use a matching system that tries to match people at your same skill level. With Call of Duty, like, I feel like it depends who runs into each other first, versus Battlefield, the levels are so wide open, it's more skill based, you know. But, you know, there's some things that I'm not really good at, like in Battlefield, like with the bullet drop and stuff like that. I can be a pretty decent sniper from like maybe medium range, but those people that are scoring headshots from far range, I can't do it. Like my friend Travis, he's the Form Phantom on YouTube, but he only has 3 videos up. He has a family now, you know, he doesn't have as much time for video games and stuff like that. But I saw him play Battlefield. He was able to snipe out like pilots with the helicopters and shit like that. I mean, maybe if I played the game, I don't think I'd ever get that good, but I think I could get better at like online games, but I just lose interest after dying and dying and dying. Really, the only online games I really like playing is Star Wars Battlefront, and I think it's just because it's Star Wars, and I do occasionally like Battlefield. I did like Battlefield 3 more, and this is really blasphemous and probably crazy for me to say. My favorite Battlefield was Battlefield at 30 frames per second with 12 teams on each side, 24 players in all. To me, that just felt perfect with the larger maps and the 64 players at the same time. It feels a little bit more chaotic for me, and when I switched to that in Battlefield 4, it felt quite overwhelming, where Battlefield 3 to me just felt just right. That was probably my favorite online shooting experience, and even though it's closed, and it might be partially because I'm a Ghostbuster fan, when they did have online for Ghostbusters, that was really fun, working together as a team, like busting ghosts, and I was actually quite good at that. Like I got a lot of trophies, and I'm not bragging, I'm just excited to say that I was actually good at something that you played online, because typically I fucking suck. You know, this is someone who got excited when they got a bronze trophy on Street Fighter. That's like the first tier that you raise up. That was a fucking goal for me. And then 2 or 3 fights later, like, I got fucking kicked back to the bottom, which I guess is good because I can get fighter points and then be able to get the bonus DLC characters without actually having to pay for them. So it works out in the end, I guess. But anyway, this game has a few issues. You'll see one part. I haven't seen it while watching this as I'm talking, but I have ADD. I'm probably not paying full attention. Also, when I was recording this, I had these dudes knock on the door. This is fucked up. They looked at the boxes. I guess they could tell I had Comcast, and they worked for Verizon, and they were trying to get me to switch services. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. The dog's fucking barking and all this shit. I'm trying to record this video. And I was kind of a little bit annoyed, not fully annoyed, but I really got pissed off when the dude's like, so what are you doing? It's like, first of all, it's none of your fucking business. I don't like it. I don't even know you, and you're inquiring about what I'm doing. I think that was just their sales pitch to be friendly, but the thing that really kind of ticked me off, first of all, the dog's barking. She won't shut up. She hears a stranger, she barks. I mean, it's good that she does that, but once I tell her to be quiet and she still does it, it kind of pisses me off a little bit, you know, because I'm trying to talk to these people and I can't hear. But I mean, it's good that she does that, but annoying at the same time. But when I said I wasn't interested, they're like, everybody says they're not interested, and I'm just like, yeah, because they're not interested. It's just like if you were devoutly religious and like somebody comes to your door and tries to convince you to start being a member of a different religion. There's nothing you could possibly say to change their mind, especially when they're already kind of annoyed. Like, I had this thing on pause, and I'm like, I gotta find the part on this video where I paused everything. This is kind of unique. I got shot in the head, and I got, like, dizzy for a few seconds, so, you know, it's good. It's good to know that I'll have a metal plate later on, more than likely, because I fractured part of my skull. But that's something cool I haven't seen in another game. And the weapons are modeled quite well, and I guess I'm a little bit annoyed. Not annoyed, but I did notice that compared to Call of Duty or Battlefield, they slide the bullets in really slow. But, you know, like in Call of Duty and Battlefield, they're always putting in the bullets super fast. I get a little bit thrown off with the mouse wheel, you know, on consoles. Usually push like the triangle or Y button depending on what console you're playing as, and it automatically switches to your secondary weapon or whatever, and you have a designated grenade button. This, you have numbers, and me playing a PC game and not being used to playing it in quite some time. Like a lot of you PC players that I see that use a controller for the first time, it's not second nature to you. It's the same deal here. It works both ways. If I played this for a while, which since I recorded this video twice, I used two different means. The first time I had issues with, and I wasn't happy with the footage. And a lot of that footage was from Pearl Harbor and the tutorial scene, which I didn't really want to play a game. This is where I was getting stuck. And you can say what you want about the game, but I've gotten stuck on edges before in AAA games that people have praised for years. It happens sometimes. Sometimes there's just one part of the game you get stuck. Luckily, I get out of it. So if you're really sweating it out like a cliffhanger at the end of the movie, I really do get out of this. So that's why I didn't take it out. Otherwise, I would have taken it out. But it's kind of pathetically funny to watch. Eventually, I wise up and crawl. There's a separate button for crawling. It's not like Call of Duty where you like tap the button twice or hold it down where he comes to a crawl. But yeah, so this was basically the PC's answer to Medal of Honor Rising Sun on the consoles. Rising Sun on the consoles was originally supposed to be 2 games, and the first one failed miserably, which is a shame because it's only half of a story and it's super short. Which, why do you do that? Why can't you just make a full-fledged game if you know you're making a second one when you're making the first one? Because you don't even know if it's going to sell. So if it doesn't sell, you don't get to completely tell your story. That's crazy. At least if you're going to do a cliffhanger type story, do it when the franchise is successful. Do it on the second game or whatever. I can't stand that. So like Medal of Honor Rising Sun comes out and it doesn't even get to finish its story. You play as one brother, and the idea was that you play as the other brother in the next game, and that would have been cool, but ultimately it was a failure. People didn't like the Pacific Theater. They thought it was somewhat repetitive because, you know, the environment isn't diverse as, you know, going all over Europe and stuff like that. So it wasn't as well received. I don't know how it sold overseas, considering the PlayStation is the primary console in Japan. That's where a lot of sales come from, and playing as an American shooting the Japanese, I don't know how well that went over for them. But yeah, like the second game, you were supposed to play as the other brother, and it completed the story. So it was like half a game, and I was like, what? That was some greedy EA tactics right there early on. Here we are at a on-rail shooting area with a bolt-action rifle, which isn't really all that responsible, but you know, shit happens. So, but it seems like you don't get shot that much, which is fine. Like in Call of Duty, there's a few levels like this, the first Call of Duty mostly, and if you don't shoot the gun fairly accurately, you have like a Tommy gun and you don't really run out of ammo. I don't even know what kind of gun it is. It looks like a shitty little grease gun that I have. Like I don't know what it is. It doesn't look like a Tommy gun. The details pretty decent on this game, but I can't tell what kind of automatic weapon that you're using. It looks like it's supposed to be the grease gun, but I'm not sure. But it does look like it's stamped and welded like a grease gun would be. It's like the cheapest alternative thing that they could give soldiers, because the Tommy gun was somewhat expensive to make. But yeah, it only holds like 20 rounds, and I didn't have that many, and with the Japanese in this game, they're usually huddled up, so using this bolt action rifle will get you killed really fast. These games, this and Allied Assault, are way more difficult in my opinion than the console Medal of Honors, especially now since you're used to playing games with recharging health. I think what EA should do is have the Battlefield series. I'm really excited about Battlefield 1. It almost looks like a World War II game because they're taking liberties with World War I, where it almost plays like a World War II game, and the environmental destruction looks amazing. I'm just like, man, if they could just make, because eventually somebody's gonna want a contemporary Battlefield game again, you know. It's just probably gonna happen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You probably have forgot what I said by then if you even watched this video. But I have a feeling after Battlefield 1, they'll probably go back to regular Battlefield again or some contemporary setting. But I would like it if EA took all their modern stuff and put it with the Battlefield franchise. And maybe their offshoots like World War I. And then with the Medal of Honor series, go in a different direction. Stick with World War II. Or maybe Vietnam and stuff like that. But go back to World War II first, because I really want to see a contemporary World War II game, especially running on Frostbite 3. And I think a game that would really work, and despite its flaws and my disappointment with it, I think Homefront 2 had a really cool idea of having a first-person shooter that's based in guerrilla warfare. It wasn't done as well. Part of the problem was the frame rate, but from what I've been reading, they're working on it. They're supposed to be coming out with a patch this month. I actually picked up Homefront Revolution like a month ago. Like, it was on sale at Best Buy, like cheap, and it came with a tin case. And I really have faith that they're going to fix the game, and they have so far. They actually patched it about a week ago, and it runs so much better. And it's actually a fun game now that they patched it, and I'm not nearly as disappointed. But if they put like Medal of Honor Underground, and we got to revisit Manon and Jimmy Patterson and all those old characters that you grew up with PS1, and had like sandbox level design like Medal of Honor Airborne, where you get to pick where you're gonna go, and you have side missions, and you know, maybe you have a gigantic map and you can pick what stuff you want to do in order, and have the environmental destruction where the level changes based on the destruction. That would be so cool, and it would separate EA's two franchises. Because right now, even though I don't know if they'll resurrect Medal of Honor ever again. They said it's resting. But Medal of Honor is very similar to Battlefield, the last Medal of Honor, so it would separate the series. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I think this is an awesome game, and if you want to give PC gaming a chance, if you're a console person and like World War II games, I would definitely check this out. Thank you so much for watching and dealing with me rambling and not talking about the game half of the time. Hope you're all doing well. Take care. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!